So we'll call this meeting to order for the Selectmen's meeting for, December 14th, 2020. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of
the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We lose our sync a little bit online.
Yeah. There we go. Now we can see everybody. Sorry, I didn't know. Hold on one second.
Can you see the agenda okay?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up on a different screen, so I'll be right back with you on that.
Okay.
We don't have any manifests or anything like that, do we?
Yes, we do. They're on the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the manifest and payroll.
I'll make a motion to approve the accounts payable manifest of December 14th, 2020 and the payroll manifest of December 15th, 2020.
I'll second.
We got a second. All in favor?
Aye, Donna Danis.
Hi, Tony Dumas.
Hi, Tyler Eaton.
Hi, John Moore. Did everybody get to read the minutes from last meeting for December 7th?
So we've got three sets. We've got the 7th, we've got the 3rd, and then 11:30. I had one question on the December 3rd. So I don't know if you guys have comments on any of the other ones, we can maybe clear up that one and then make a motion on all of them if you want.
I haven't had a chance to review the most recent one yet, but the previous two I'm fine with.
So when you say the most recent, you mean the 7th?
Yeah, the one, last week.
Tony, do you mean the one that I just sent out on Sunday? Because that was December 3rd. I know it's confusing.
Yeah, the one you sent out yesterday,
Recently.
right?
Yep.
It was yesterday.
So 11:30 and December 7th are the ones that are the oldest ones that I've done.
Right. Yeah, those ones I'm okay with. It was the one we got yesterday that I haven't looked at yet.
So Lorraine, on 12:3,
yeah,
my only question was on line 71, where the paragraph ends with Mr. Dumas said that the final decision is now made on the ballot. And I'm not quite sure, Tony, you might remember the context of that, but it was around road standards. And so I'm not quite sure what the reference to being made on the ballot was.
he meant that it wasn't at the it was actually on the ballot and not the town meeting. But I can erase the whole sentence. Or Tony, if you want to read it, we can.
Yeah, I'll look it over and look at the video if I'm not. Yeah, I don't remember offhand what my train of thought was at that time.
So is everybody good then on 11:30 and 12:15?
12:07.
12/7.
12:07 and 11:30.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion. We approve the minutes from 11:30/2020 and 12/7/2020.
I'll second it.
All right. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye, Donna Danis.
Hi, Tony Dumas.
Hi, Tyler Eaton.
Hi, John Moore. So we'll approve the minutes for December 7th at next meeting.
Hey, one question on the minutes. Lorraine, are you getting many edits on the minutes?
No, not usually. Kelly Delaire sometimes reads them and has a couple of like proofreading things, but that's about it.
Okay,
Sometimes Ben gets a couple of things.
okay. I just, my only thing was that, in the past, we used to see what everybody's edits were, or we would discuss them in the meeting. So I just, again, I just am wondering if there's substantial edits, if we should, have a chance.
They're really much.
Yeah, that's why I asked, Lorraine, that's why I asked. But I think in the case, if there was something substantial, that the rest of the board should be given the opportunity to see what the edit was, or we can discuss it in this meeting.
We good?
Good, thank you.
Next to boards and committees. I was at the budget meeting Thursday night, and Chris did an excellent job presenting the town's budget. And it was nice to see that the budget committee, there's a couple comments about some things, but we're relatively pleased with the selectmen's budget for the town. So that went really well. Tyler, planning board?
Planning board met Wednesday and had two cases that they listened to. One was case 20-009-sub, and that was an application by Marilyn and Jeffrey Cole requesting subdivide 31.18 acres, whatever. We listened, and they need a zoning board review before we can continue with that case. And then we also had it was the Mitchell Road 12 unit development, which is looks like it will be approved when conditions are met, and they have sent certain documents that were needed to be sent to the town, which they are in the process of doing. And also wanted to say that there was a public hearing going on regarding some proposed zoning changes, and that public hearing is being left open so more people can, there weren't many people on the other night. And then also to let everybody know that there is a open seat for the planning board. If anybody's interested, please contact Joanna at the town hall.
Has that been posted, Tony?
What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant Tyler. Did they post that on the website?
I don't know if they did or not. This is what I had wrote down the other night.
Got it.
300th, I don't know. I think there was a meeting Thursday, but I see Steve's here, so hopefully he can report on it.
Hopefully we did something at the recycling center, but I don't know the results.
I got my blankets. I got to say they're very nice.
Oh,
Very
good.
happy with them. Marston, I don't think there's much there, right, Donna?
Nope, nothing to share.
Right, and the CIP hasn't met yet, so we know there's nothing there.
But I actually had a brief conversation with the school board chair today. They're a little behind the curve, obviously, but with their budgeting, their late budgeting, planning for the deliberative session, and a little bit of uncertainty going on at the SAU office. So, I mean, it's just a perfect storm of things putting them behind. But she did say that they have approved their own CIP list, and she's going to send that to me tomorrow. And with any luck, we're going to convene, I'm hoping, within the next week, so that, we can finish that part of the process in time for our deliberative as well, and town report, obviously. So that's it.
Chris, your report?
Just a couple things. I've been hitting you with a lot on email. Just want to go back and make sure you take a look at the proposed Avatar contract for assessing services. That's a long-term contract. So I want to make sure you're comfortable with it before we move forward. And secondly, also school related. I believe, as I understand the process, the SAU has been given state permission to put a separation from the SAU school. The school district has been given permission to put a vote about separation from the SAU on their district ballot in March, which means that their planning processes will continue around that. One of those things is space. They had sent a committee to come see you last fall about that. They've since toured the facilities with me, and they want to come back and continue that conversation with you. So that is going to be in between deliberative and town meeting, if that's okay with you. Just keep things moving. It's a bit of a quiet time generally for you. So I will invite them in February if you don't have any objection to that. And lastly, I just this afternoon looked at COVID numbers again. We're up to 19 in town, which is more than my hometown of Durham, which has never happened before. So stay safe.
Wow.
That's all I've got that's new.
And there's nothing on assessing, so I didn't see anything on the bottom of the agenda for that. So, should I call you Lieutenant or should I call you Chief?
Sorry, here I am, guys. Lieutenant is fine for now, right? I don't know.
I'm just kidding with you, Fawn.
You can call me Chief Elect. That's what everybody's been telling me.
Okay.
Tony, let us see the lieutenant's whole face. We'll get rid of the.
Steve wants to see me.
Oh, I see. He wants me to pause my sharing. All right.
Well, congratulations, Fawn.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you, John.
Yeah, Fawn, we're all excited about it. Very excited about it.
I'm excited.
Here come the
too.
chief.
What's that, Steve?
Here come the chief.
Yes, I am very excited to become the chief. Yes, and I'm excited that I'm using a selfie stick to talk to you guys. Yeah, I'm not used to this Zoom thing, so I'm like, when am I going to prop this on? I guess I'll use a selfie stick. Like it. But yeah, I'm very excited for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. Just a lot going on, obviously, at the end of the year. Like anything, we're super busy at the police department, and it's definitely bittersweet with the chief. You know, I hate to say it, it's almost like every day is, you know, getting closer and closer. It's actually getting kind of sad. So, yep.
Well,
we're gonna miss him. He's part of. He's Nottingham, so.
You got big shoes to fill, huh, Fawn?
Yeah, I would say so. I hear it every day.
And that's from him, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and he always tells me he's not trying to, every day it's if you need me, you can call me. He's. But I'm excited. I am.
That would have to be before the weather gets warm, because once it warms up, he's going to be playing golf every day, and you won't be able to reach him.
Yeah, he literally said, "I'm free till about April," and then once weather gets good, he's gone. So good for him, though. Well deserved.
Yeah, good.
Do you need any of our assistance for anything for the transfer over from you to him?
No, I think I'm good, John.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything that I need. The next couple of weeks, honestly, is. I think, just, physically it's an easy move, literally from my office to him. Although I don't think he's going to move out. He's pretty much leaving everything there. I'm going to have to fill up his pickup truck for him. But no, I think I'm good. I think I'm definitely good. I'm in good hands. The town's in good hands. I'm in good hands. And I think it's going to be very smooth.
Chris, was it put on the website yet about our official hire?
No, we've been waiting for this big rollout. So we'll put something up in the morning or tonight. I've got it written. I may stick it up tonight.
Okay, perfect.
Actually, Quan, I should get your picture. Send me a good picture and we'll put that in with it.
Oh, okay. I'll make sure. No, I'm not going to say it. I'll try to. I'll send a good picture.
All right.
Chris, I have a
No,
good
Steve,
picture.
you can't have my good picture.
No, I have a picture of her from the chief gave me from the picture she has in the lobby. If you want
Oh.
that,
Yeah, that's fine. That would work. It's.
I can send it to you, Chris.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. Can I have a good picture?
Hey, Steve, don't send the one that you have of me holding up that T-shirt, the 300th year anniversary. I know you like to send that around to everybody, but
But do you want to buy some more T-shirts?
no, thank you.
You want to buy a 300th hat?
I did get a blanket.
Oh, good! Congratulations.
So,
Oh, sorry, Donna. Yep, I'm
No,
here.
no, go for it, Donna.
no, I was just going to say, I was going to ask the same question that John did, but I assume that, once you're in the role for a little bit, you're welcome to come back and talk to the board at any time, if there's anything that we can do for you or you have any questions.
No, I appreciate that. I definitely think that I probably will, because it's new and I like technology. I want to get on this Zoom. But no, I appreciate that. And same goes for you guys. Obviously, with COVID and everything, not that the PD's pretty much shut down, but it's kind of difficult right now where everybody's just trying to stay away from each other, but hopefully 2021 is a better year, and we'll definitely keep the lines of communication open. I have an open door policy. My door is always open. So I encourage all of you to come by anytime, and same for me. I know that I'll be keeping in contact. That's for sure.
Quickly, as we go on, does anybody have any questions they want to ask? Lieutenant Woodman?
I don't. I just want to say congratulations, and we're happy for you. And we look forward to the years ahead.
I appreciate that, Tony. I really do appreciate it, you guys. Like I said, Nottingham is like one big family to me, so it really does mean a lot. You guys are my family. You're my neighbors. John, you in that laugh.
Yeah. Well, let me go back to. I've never did an introduction before, so I take it that's all we're done. So.
I think it's all new for us.
Yeah. So again, unless anybody else has to ask, again, congratulations, Fawn. And again, I know you're going to do a great job, and we're all excited for you. And I'm sure the rest of the town feels the same way, that it's been you are the right person for the job. And again, we know you're going to do a great job. So just know that we have all the confidence in the world in you. So
awesome, guys. I appreciate it. Make sure everybody stays safe. Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Tyler.
Take care.
we're going to move on to the town clerk.
Okay.
And about the office hours.
Yes, by way of introduction, this came up as you're walking through the budget. Lori's here. She had proposed some changes in the office hours and the related budget, and you asked to chat, and she is here. She'll also be here for the discussion on deliberative session and town meeting and whatnot. Hi, Lori.
Hi. Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
So I have gone through past town reports from the UNH website, and I went all the way back to 98, I believe, which actually we had more hours open to the public back then than we have now. We have stayed at 16 hours open to the public for the last 20 years. And most other towns at minimum are open 24. Now I realize that, Nottingham has a town clerk, tax collector split, but there are a lot of towns that the town clerk is open 24 hours. The only other town I could find that wasn't was Candia. They're open for 16. And I discussed it with her, and she likes where she is. She doesn't want to change anything. But there have been probably over the last 2 or 3 months, weeks where people had to wait for 2.5 weeks or so to come in to to register a new vehicle. And, they're not happy about it, and I don't blame them. When things get back to normal, hopefully soon, it's not going to make it any better either. I mean, there's a lot of other things that the clerk has to do other than motor vehicle registrations. And those things have to be done either on downtime or when no one else is there for the interruptions, et cetera. You lose track, and that's when things go awry. So I know that it would cost more money, but I think that it's the way to go. The town's growing, and it will add a little bit more to the budget too, because when we get a new deputy, that person will have to train with me for several months, at least 3 months, one-on-one, to be able to then work alone. And so I'm hoping that can happen soon. So then we would split the week in half, the clerk one half and then the deputy the other half. So I'm just passing that by. I think it's something that probably should have happened a few years ago, but it didn't. So
Lori, I'm sorry, you said we would increase from 16 hours to
I'm thinking 24.
24. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And just, I don't know as much about this as I should and how it works, but the fees are typically like where, like, just walk me through like the fees and the funding and all of that for the position.
So the positions are paid per hour plus fees.
Yep.
Fees for each registration that they do.
Would this help keep you from working later in the evenings during your regular hours? So like if you're open till 2 to 6, instead of staying there doing paperwork till 7:30, would the extra hours help you get out more during your allotted time?
Well, after I close, it usually takes a minimum of 45 minutes or so to do a closeout report. You have to make sure all of the reports reconcile at the end of the night. And if there was an issue with anything, that has to be fixed. And sometimes it's kind of difficult. We used to have Interware in the state be able to back us up at night, but right now they're closing at 5:30. So if I get stuck, I'm kind of stuck. So if I close, say if like tonight, I closed at 5, I left there just before 6. I have a lot, filing to do, get everything ready. I have to set up a package every day at the end of the day that has to be mailed out to the state the next day. I have to put a deposit through to the state and then do bookkeeping records, make sure all the reports jive, and set up the deposit for the treasurer. And then what else, anything else that came in. I got a 12-page fax I haven't even looked at. Some out-of-state dealership wants to do a registration. So, you never know what's going to happen. Plus you have all the renewals you have to do, things like that. And then when an election comes around, that's even more. So I'm also thinking, right now we're open 2 nights a week, but I think that that's just too much. No other town is open that I can find near us 2 nights a week. I had a hard time finding one other town that was open 2 nights a week. I think one evening is fine. And just because of safety reasons, the maximum it should be open would be 6 o'clock, because then I probably wouldn't be getting out of there till 7. And I've talked with Tracy about it, and she's willing to work so that we'll be there the same night, and she would work till 7 so that we would both be in the office at the same time. And then we would leave at the same time.
So then how did the hours get reallocated? 24, what did the hours look like?
So I'm thinking I could do 4 days at 5 hours a day and then work Friday morning for 4 hours. And then get rid of the last Saturday of the month. The last Saturday of the month, from what I understand, was originally put in there for the people who waited till the very last minute to renew their registrations for the month. And right now, we're not doing any renewals in the office. Well, I do them occasionally when someone shows up and they're desperate. But almost all of them are done online or by mail right now.
So there would only be one evening and no Saturdays?
Right, but I would be there for 24 hours during the week.
How are people who work going to react to that when we get back to normal mode?
And so almost everybody has a job, and how do you make an appointment to go to the dentist? Do you go at night? Do you go to see your accountant at night? You can always have somebody else come in and do the registration. If it's a new registration, new purchase that was done at a dealership, a family member can come in and do it for you. And even you could have a POA if a title had to be signed. I just don't see the need for 2 nights.
I'm just kind of surprised they're taking away a Saturday option.
Well, that would be, so if you took away the Saturday option, then you have 24 hours during the week. Then that would be 1 week, that would be at least 27 hours, maybe 28, that one last week of the month. And there's no backup. After 11 o'clock in the morning, there's no backup at all. And we've been open till 1 o'clock.
What would your hours be for the week?
I was thinking I could do one afternoon, one early evening, and then the rest all mornings.
What time do you start in the morning? 8 o'clock?
Right now it's 9 to 1. I could make it 8:30.
Well, that
To
would help.
say
That might help
2:30.
people.
Pardon me?
If you had an earlier morning hour, I don't know what time the rest of the staff comes in for the selectman's office. If you had like an 8 o'clock in the morning day,
Then I'd be alone in the building in the morning.
well, I don't know. That's why I was going to ask Chris. I don't know what time everybody comes in.
8:30.
The town office, selectman's office opens at 8:30. The building inspector is there earlier most days. I believe 7.
Again, Laura, I don't want you to feel unsafe by any reason. So, I mean, I don't want the hours changed. If you don't feel safe, then that's a huge, that's fine.
And I'm just looking at what other towns do, and generally it's 8:30 that they come in.
Okay.
So I was thinking like 8:30 to, 1:30, that would be 5 hours. I could also do 4 days at 6 hours, but that would be an awful long time because some days there's no break whatsoever.
I like the 5 days.
I think 5 days would be good. Then people wouldn't be, on a Friday, that's when people forgot to register their camper and they're going away for the weekend. And they're kind of stuck if they can't take it with them.
So how will we be breaking down the days again?
Well, I haven't really determined that yet. I think it would either be one day where it would be in the afternoon, say it would be late morning, early afternoon, maybe 10 to 3:30 or so. 10 to 3 would be a 5-hour day. And then one evening would be 1 to 6. And then the rest would be 8:30 to 2 or 2:30. I have to count out the hours because usually we're starting at 9 to 1. It would be 8:30 to 1:30.
Okay.
And then I would still be there till 2:30 anyway, or even later, depending. There's some nights I've been there till 10 o'clock. That's a long night.
So, Lori, I'm not trying to be an ass, so I apologize if I'm coming across this way, but so it's not about opening more hours for more accessibility for people. It's about having more hours and budget to cover the hours that you need to work, you feel, to successfully do the job.
No, I think it's more access for the customers to come in. They shouldn't have to wait 2.5 weeks to come in. And they shouldn't all have to come in the same day. Because technically, typically what happens is you're open on Monday and that's when everyone comes in. Or they all come in Tuesday night all at the same time. They all show up at 3:00. There was one day we were testing the ballot machine and we didn't get done with it till just about 3:00. And I walked over to my office and there were 10 people waiting in line. And that was during COVID. It was crazy.
What's the average that we take in, or that you take in over the course of a year on the fees?
This year, I think it might be 1.5 million.
Wait, so say that again, please.
Oh, you mean overall? The town collects about 1.5 million. Maybe I misunderstood your question, Donna.
No, the question was so part of how your compensation comes from a percentage of the fees that we collect.
Right.
So it's a percentage of the 1.5.
It's $3 per registration. So, as an example, last year, I think I made 28, close to 29,000, and Sandy made about 35.
Okay.
So some of that is hourly rate.
So that 29 and the 35 was just from the fees on top of the hourly, that was the total?
That was combined.
Okay. Okay. And so by increasing the hours, Chris, what we saw on the budget, that increases that by $10,000. That would be, again, split between the clerk and the deputy clerk, right?
Yeah, in 2021, she's proposed an overlap for training purposes, which is part of that number. And Lori, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but and I think the idea is that once we have a deputy in place that's trained, we would go back to having a split schedule of, one person be working mostly. They wouldn't work together beyond the training period. So the gross pay for that position and its deputy would be split between two people again.
Okay.
Is that right, Lori?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, and so then the 24 hours would be split between the two people once that person's up to speed as well?
That's right. Yep.
Okay.
And so I don't know if, I don't have the documents with me, but I've gone through probably 2 or 3 times over the last 4 years, looking up all the towns that were in our range of population. And the 24 hours seems to be it. And there was no rhyme to a reason as to how they schedule their hours. Some offices were open from 10 to 3. Some were opened, at 8:30 to 2:30. Rye is open the same hours. Rye is similar population wise. And Rye is, I think it's 8:30 to 4:30, 5 days a week, but it's also the tax collector. They're not open any evenings at all. So.
Do you feel that these new hours will help you get a deputy town clerk?
Not necessarily.
No?
No. And, it's very difficult to understand how other clerks work. Most of them have someone with them almost the whole time they're there. They have two people working at a time. And every town does it differently. Every town gets paid differently. Some clerks are salaried. Each town is different. It's a very different kind of a position.
A question for you. Since you'd be taking away one of the nights, do you roughly have an idea? I mean, again, you're there all the time, and again, I'm not looking for a hard number, but do you see most of your transactions with the public being during the non-evening hours?
Well, yeah, that's most of the hours are non-evening.
Right. Okay. So again, the effectiveness of not having taking away one of the nights shouldn't really affect anything.
I don't think so.
Okay. I'm just asking your opinion.
And so
I only come in at nighttime, so that's just me, but I can make the change.
And so during the beginning of this whole COVID thing, nobody could come in the office at all. And so I was doing things the best that I could by email and fax, and people were just submitting things by mail, and I was doing transactions over the telephone. And then I would go out to the parking lot and give them their license plates. And, that was pretty interesting because almost everybody could take care of their things in the morning. Almost every single person. But, a lot of people were not going to work. They were working from home. And after this whole thing, I think people are going to continue to be working from home. It seems to me they have more freedom now to come in during the day than they ever have before.
Do you find a lot of your shift now has gone for people taking advantage of doing the stuff online, sending their paperwork in earlier? Like I get the thing from my register my car, it always comes in the mail. So I can just mail it to you, you send it back to me the next day. Works out perfect.
Yep.
Do you find that to be the trend?
I think that works really well. For the most part, if I get something in the mail, I can get it done that day. I sent out renewal notices last Thursday, and 25 renewals came in from the website by 5 o'clock. Now I can't get to them. I got to them today when I came in. They can't be done until I get there. But I think people are pretty good they like doing the renewals online. They also really like the appointments. They don't like coming into a room with 10 other people sitting there. They feel pressured.
I thought the appointment worked out great the other day when I went to the tax collector.
Yep.
It was nice and simple.
It's really simple. People don't have to come in not knowing what to expect. They know that they're going to be the person to be waited on. Sometimes they might have to wait. Some transactions take longer than others, but for the most part, they're in and out. And it's the least amount of confusion, and it just makes things so much simpler. You don't have people in the background, sometimes they can get very, very loud. And if the tax collector's there and she's waiting, she can't concentrate. We have 10 other people sitting there. And of course, during the election, it was different. I didn't make anybody make an appointment for any election related transactions because, you just can't do that. That's just not right. And so we had a lot of people coming in during that. 4 or 5 people at a time would come in, to return their absentee ballots or request one. That was a very busy time. But other than that, it's been working out very, very well. People like it. They want to keep it.
Does anybody else have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I'm just like, I guess I don't really get it because the increase in hours isn't going to really benefit anybody who's having trouble getting there in person to take care of business. And the trend is more online and mail-in. So I'm not quite sure.
But that's for renewals. That's not for a new purchase. A new purchase you have to do in person.
Okay. But are new purchases increasing?
This year, I think this year was, yes. People have purchased things that you wouldn't believe. There was one month, I normally could go through 25 trailer plates in a month. And there was one month I went through 75. And, and this year might just be a fluke, but people were buying campers and motorhomes and because they wanted to go somewhere. But I don't think that auto purchases has slowed down at all.
Okay.
And the thing is, even if I don't have a customer for 20 minutes because they're scheduled 20 minutes apart, that's 20 minutes I can spend doing the renewals. Instead of having the person in front of me, I just do their mail-in or their online.
Yep.
I mean, I guess we could start with 20 hours. But it still gives people more availability. They don't have to wait a week and a half, 2 weeks to come in. Because most people wait till the very last minute. They wait until their temporary plates have expired before they come in.
If we were to go to the 20 hours, you'd have like 4 or 5 hour days.
I could have 4 or 5 hour days, sure. I don't really want to go to 6 hours. That's an awfully long day because that's nonstop. There's no break. I mean, I don't get a lunch break. I don't get a 15-minute break. And there's no one that can cover the phones but me.
I think
definitely have,
I'm
sorry.
sorry, go ahead,
No,
John.
go ahead, Donna. I mean, I definitely have no problem with the 20 hours a week. If that extra from 16 to 20. I know, I mean, I'd like to see more office hours for you. I personally think it's not a bad thing, but that's me.
The thing is, I'm there for that length of time anyway. Because
Yeah.
it takes that long to do everything else other than seeing customers face to face.
But we put on the budget that was going to be $10,000 more a year. That's also because of the deputy clerk, right?
But it's only increasing for the time that the deputy has to be trained.
Right. Only right. So
then the next year it would go back to similar to what it has been.
right. Okay.
So the overlap is $10,000 for the training period?
Probably. I don't have those figures in front of me.
Well, instead of having one person at a time working, you're going to have 2 people at the same time working. They're going to be overlapping their hours. So that's where you're going to find an extra money cost coming in. Until she's trained or he's trained to do what they want and to be on their own, they're always going to have to be sitting next to Lori.
Yeah,
So
I
we're going
get
to be
that.
2 people to do one job.
Yeah, I get that. And I know it's complex and it takes time, but
It's a minimum of 3 months worth of training.
okay. Okay.
Lori, I think the numbers that you put in the budget were both that overlap and the increase in hours, right?
You're right.
So
You're absolutely, yep, that's right, Chris. Yep.
$10,000 increase would go back down if we trained and held on to a deputy next year. It would go down, but it wouldn't go down by 10,000. It would go down by some portion of 10,000.
Got it. Okay. Well, I'm okay with 20 hours like you are, John.
And so you're not going to complain when you have to wait 2 weeks for your appointment, Donna, right?
I do mine online.
No, you can't buy a new car and do it online. The people who come in to see me are people who purchased a new vehicle.
you know, I mean, we could debate this all night. I think some of it might be because of the hours and the fact that there's like only one Saturday a month for people. You know, and if we're cutting back to one night, then that also makes it harder for people to get there. And I think it's different now because people are working from home and it's easier to scoot out, you know, up to the community center to do something in between calls now. But I would imagine post-pandemic when people are traveling and going to work again, it could get difficult. So I think that might be what pushes people to the last minute, but it's just my opinion. I wish there was a way we could solve the safety issue for you of being in the building at night. And that's what I've been trying to sit here, think about if there's any way that we can do that, but I can't come up with anything brilliant around that.
The only thing that I can think of is to have both the tax collector and the town clerk there at the same time. I just don't think that anybody should be in that building at night after hours by themselves.
No, I get that. Yep.
Tyler, Tony?
Yeah, I mean, I agree that the safety problem is probably the more pressing issue. And that doesn't have an easy answer. I mean, we've got the security cameras now. We've got the, the proximity locks and all that stuff, but that doesn't do anything for you when you have to walk out to your car at 10 o'clock at night. So, so the only mitigation for that's readily available is to adjust the hours. So, and that's what we're doing here. So I'm fine with 20 or 25 hours. I'm okay with it. If it turns out that the foot traffic patterns change and we need to readjust, we can always revisit, but I'm fine with the change.
Big difference between 20 and 25, Tony. Which one?
Well, we can start with 20, and then, like I said, if the foot traffic patterns change and it demonstrates, by way of that metric that we need more, we can add the extra 5 hours.
I mean, with the 20 hours though, I mean, so you were saying before, I mean, when you're gonna do your paperwork and all that, are those hours included or no?
Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. There have been periods of time that I've been coming in on Fridays just to get caught up.
On your own time?
Well, there is no such thing as her own time, really, because she's also getting the transaction fees, right?
Right, and I get paid per hour when I'm there, I'm working.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
No, that's what I want to make sure that, hopefully you're getting paid for all hours worked.
Yeah, I've been getting paid for when I've been working. I remember when this whole COVID thing happened, I asked Chris, this is going to take me a lot longer to do everything. And for a while there, I was putting in 40 hours a week and checking my email from home, first thing in the morning, last thing at night, answering emails just to get through it. I would get 100 emails a day. Things are far better than they were, that's for sure. Especially since the election's over.
So just to throw this out there, how do we do? I mean, we do the 20 hours, because the budget committee wasn't. I mean, there was some pushback on the 24 and the amount when we were sitting at the budget committee. Just to let you know. that did come up. You know, we can always add the 4 hours next year. I do understand the fact of having the, you know, the waiting and people waiting in line. Hopefully by this summer, we won't have to do I actually like the fact of scheduling appointments with you. I think that would be a nice practice to keep, even in the future, after COVID's over. I just think it makes things run smoother and easier. You know, I guess we can see how that way you probably limit your time where you get 10 people standing in front of you waiting or anything like that. You know, take a little of the pressure off.
Well, you know what customers have told me is it takes the pressure off of them. They don't feel like they have, 5 other people staring at them waiting to get their stuff done.
Right. I mean, again, I thought it was great. I used it the other day and I thought it was a wonderful process.
Yeah, I think it works very well.
Thing with just, scheduling appointments and times like anything else.
Yep. I think it works really well.
So that's where I feel on this. If we can go back to the budget committee, say we're going to do 20, we'll cut some of that number, that 10,000 off a little bit and make it go from there and see if it needs to be changed to 24 in the next year.
That sounds reasonable.
Good with that.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
Did we get that, Chris?
Yeah,
Chris
so
there?
you want Lori to come back with a revised number based on 20 instead of 24 hours, and we'll make that change in your next draft of the budget.
Correct.
Yep.
Again, Lori, thank you for what you do for the town. You know, at times it is a thankless job, and I've been there to see the customers in front of you and sometimes how they can be. And I really appreciate what you do for us and working in this position as our town clerk, and that you did an excellent job with everything at this election period, because that was definitely a time consuming and stressful situation. So again, thank you for doing what you do.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
No, I'm good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Lori.
Good night, Lori. All right.
Well, I know, I think I'm hanging on for the elections part of this meeting.
Okay. Yep. 7 o'clock. Well, do we want to go right there for the election official town meeting part and go back and do the 21 budget warrant and talk about those that Chris sent us? Does anybody have an opinion on which way we go with this?
You've got everybody here for the election discussion that was targeted for 7, John, if you want to do that.
So yeah, let's move. All right. So let's move ahead. We'll go back to under general business. We'll go back later on to section C and E. But we'll move forward right now with the town meeting versus COVID. You want to say election officials and how we're going to handle that?
All right, I guess I'll start. I see our moderator, Bonnie's here. At least one of our supervisors of the checklist, Deanne is here, Ruth Ann is here. Put this on the agenda because we are once again staring down the possibility of an election or town meeting season with COVID numbers actually dramatically higher than the last time we had this conversation last year. Of course, we delayed town meeting last March, and now are heading back into the season again. We obviously switched to SB2, and I think what we should do is talk through what the process looks like and what the legislature has made available to you all for how to do this during the pandemic. That's what I was hoping we would at least start a discussion tonight. I don't know that you'll have to get to decisions, but thinking through them, they're not easy decisions. So that's what I was hoping for. Bonnie, I've talked with Bonnie about this a couple times, just trying to get our heads around it. Bonnie, is there anything else you want to add before we get into the weeds on that?
You're on mute, Bonnie.
No, I was saying, yeah, I think we might as well just get into it. It is kind of complicated and a little twisted to try to figure out what's the best route for us to take. As always, one of my main concerns is the safety of the election staff and the public, and they kind of go hand in hand. So we have the issue of, this is something that I probably should run by, I just drew a blank on his name, run by the town attorney as well as the Attorney General's office attorney, Nicholas Chung Yen. And that is, what kind of responsibility do we have if the governor's mask mandate is no longer in effect? Would the selectmen be willing to stand up and say, this is a mask mandated event? And does this violate anyone's constitutional rights? I suggest that if it does, that would lean me way more toward the Zoom meeting, which is perfectly safe for everybody. I don't know if you all read the proposed possible procedure. It's an option for us. We can do it the old way, but with, I'm saying, masks and social distancing. Chris and I had a discussion about it, and I lean on him for the logistics of all of these things. Would we be able to fit everybody in the room? That's really one of the big questions. And we don't really have a way of judging that because this is our first year as an SB2 town. I suggest in the future, we probably won't get too many people attending, but is the novel first year going to bring in a bunch of people? And if it does, Chris thought that at the last town meeting, which we had divided the room sort of in half with masked people on the left and in the cafeteria portion, and unmasked people to the right who were not socially distanced. But if everybody has to wear a mask and be socially distanced, would we have room for them? And Chris thought we were probably pretty full if we socially distance people in the non-mask side at the June town meeting. So I'm not really willing to hold an inside meeting without people wearing masks. I mean, that's my position. I don't think it's safe from what all the medical people say. I'd rather keep all the politics out of it, go by what the experts say, which is this virus primarily spreads by breath droplets, and masks help thwart the spread. Especially if you're having an inside event, wearing masks is critical. So that's the first issue. And the governor's edict only lasts through the middle of January. The school has an edict, but are we, if there's no edict from the governor, are we then trampling on people's right to the process? And I don't know the answer to that. I sort of broached it with Nick Chung Yen the last time I talked to him, but we didn't get into it. I hadn't read this legislation yet. And I think I got an inkling that maybe the thinking on that has changed because we know more about the virus now than we did in March and April. Anyway, it's a crapshoot, but we do have to decide in a relatively short period of time because the deliberative sessions are way earlier than the town meeting, than what we're used to. So I think our deliberative date is it the 9th, Dee? I know you know.
No, it's the second.
The 2nd of February.
2nd of February is the first one, and the school one is the following Tuesday.
Yeah, so we would be up to the 2nd of February. So we have to decide, I would say by the end of this month at the latest, which route we're going to take. And I think it's kind of ultimately my decision, but I would certainly appreciate input from everybody involved who works as an election officer anyway. And we're the ones who have to set it all up and make it all happen. So I think that I am leaning toward a Zoom meeting just because there are too many unknowns otherwise.
Can you talk a little bit more about how that would work, Bonnie?
So I've been at some large Zoom meetings Donna.
Yeah.
We don't know how many people will come if it's a Zoom meeting. I mean, that's part of the problem. There's so many unknowns.
Yeah.
If, I think our town thing allows for 400, is that right, Chris?
300.
800.
Oh,
Three.
that's so much better.
No. 300.
To
Oh,
3.
300.
300. 300.
Was that Tony saying that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I know the States is like 500 or 600, but
Well, they got a lot more money than we do.
so if we were to do it by Zoom, we have the option of just making it basically an informational session where the budget committee and the selectmen explain everything on the warrant, and any petitioned articles are explained by the petitioners. And that's kind of it. Boop. Or we can run an interactive one where people can speak up, but I think that's a logistical nightmare from what I see happening at the state level, in the sense that nobody here has ever done it. And if we allow them to, if we do the Zoom meeting, people lose their right to change the articles in any way.
So Bonnie,
They do get a period afterwards to write by email or whatever to the governing body, which is you people, the town, the selectmen, and make suggestions, comments, and tell you what they think about these different articles. And you then have the right to make adjustments if you wish. So Dee, sorry.
So I spent some time this afternoon looking at the actual RSA, and if we decide to do a Zoom option or a remote option, it doesn't have to be by Zoom, it could be by some other means. It would require 2 meetings. The first one 7 days after we notify every election, every voter in town by mail individually. And then that would be the first meeting. And then a second meeting within 7 days of the first for the governing body, which would be the select board in this instance, to comment on any of the electronic comments that have been made, and whether that means that they make any amendments or any changes or anything else, but it still requires 2 remote meetings 7 days within each other.
So we would end up doing like this, the 2nd and the 9th.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it doesn't have to be exactly 7 days apart. It has to be within 7 days.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. And the schools is whatever the Tuesday after the I don't have February in my calendar, but whatever the Tuesday is, that's when the schools is. And I don't know what they're going to decide to do with theirs.
And so I think the Zoom thing would be difficult if we had a bond issue. Is that not right, Chris? But we don't have one.
I don't, it would certainly complicate things, but it's not we don't have that problem. So
Right. I don't know if the school will, I guess was
I think the school is going to have to figure out how much it can tinker with its process, given that it's asking for a bond issue. At least I think they are.
And then I believe we would have the option in March of doing some kind of drive-through voting, perhaps using the fire department to have people drive up, check in with ballot clerks who would be stationed inside the fire department, and, you know, have the election staff there, but nobody out of their car, kind of thing. Unless a couple people walked, then I suppose we could process them out of the car, but it would keep the face-to-face exposure down. Or we could have a regular polling place like we always do, set up booths and tables and see people in the community center. So, but we don't need to make that decision as quickly as we need to decide how we're going to do our deliberative session? Are we going to do it in person or are we going to do it by Zoom? And if we do it by Zoom, there are two options. One is comment and the other is no comments. But again, you would have that 7-day period, right, Dee, where people would be able
Correct.
to write into you, and then you could kind of respond as in an overview and tell the citizens what changes you decided to make because of their comments. Sometimes they have good ideas. So that's kind of my understanding of it, and
I don't want to sound awful, but I prefer the in person. I don't mind wearing a mask and just doing it in person. Because last time I went to the school's deliberative station, there was nobody there. I mean, I swear there probably was only like 15 people. So I don't think we're going to see a turnout, even if we do have an open, like, at the town hall or whatever, regular meeting, that we're going to see like 150 people show up. It'd be nice, but I don't think it's going to happen. But so I'm just throwing that out there.
well, John, I'm not saying that what you think is,
So, whatever you feel like is going to be the safest and best way. You're running the show on that. So I'll support whatever you want to do, Bonnie.
thank you, John. The difficulty is that we have nothing to base a decision on because this is our first deliberative session. And I agree with you. I'm the school moderator. I
Yeah.
see who doesn't come to deliberative sessions, but I will bet you this year they will come because they're talking about an addition. Okay.
Yeah.
So you see people turn out if the budget looks like it might go up.
Sure.
I think there is the possibility, Chris and I discussed this, of people coming to this one because their assessments went up. And for a lot of people, their taxes went up. I know that mine did. So that sometimes brings people out. And since we have no history of deliberative sessions, we just don't know. I just wouldn't say. And if we do hold it in the school and more people show up than we can accommodate, we have to scrap it.
Right. Yeah. And I will say that when the school went from being a school meeting on Saturdays to SB2, the first year we had a pretty good turnout, pretty good being less than 75. And then after that, we've consistently been at less than 20. We can certainly handle less than 20 with all of the other required people, the clerk, the moderator, the board, the budget committee, the supervisors, the ballot clerks, all of those people. We could probably do it with that. But this being the first year that we are SB2 for the town, I'm not confident that we would have so few people turn out that we wouldn't have to say, okay, we're at capacity. We now have to adjourn and reschedule to a Zoom meeting anyway.
Right.
So, like John said, Bonnie, ultimately, I'll support whatever your decision is. I also think in reality, right, we don't have anything big, right, that we're putting forth. Our budget increase is extremely conservative at 2%, right? The budget committee, supported our budget the other night, as John said, with a few questions. Our budget has gone through town meeting with pretty much no discussion for the last 2 years.
That's not the part of it that people discuss. Generally speaking, the rest of it, it's the other $10,000 and $25,000 items.
Yeah, you're right.
Look how much time we spent. That means there is interest, though. Look how much time the last two town meetings have taken. Huge hours and hours.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to say you're right, and maybe you are, and I don't disagree with you. I'm just not confident that it's worth risking the setup. Well, it's not bad for town meeting. It's not as, it's an electronically the setup. And setting aside a day and notifying everybody. Well, I guess we wouldn't have to if we did it that way. But if we change it, how can we notify people, Dee? You've been reading the law. How can we notify
So,
people in 7 days? Or is-
so if the decision is made that we are going to go from a traditional deliberative session to a remote deliberative session, like a Zoom session, we are required by law to run a report out of the database of every voter, registered voter in the town of Nottingham at that time, and send an individual letter detailing the date, the time, and the exact way we're going to handle the meeting. We cannot send it to each individual household like we have in the past. We have to send it to each individual voter because there are many voters who are outside, who have mailing addresses outside of Nottingham, or who may be, in Florida or some other place during the winter time. So we have to notify each person, which means we would have to run the report 10 to 12 days ahead of time. We would have to have the letter composed. We'd have to run all the labels off and then put all the letters and everything in the mail so that everybody receives their letter a minimum of 10 days prior to whenever we hold this remote meeting.
So my question though was, what if we, I suppose like any meeting, if we hold an in-person meeting and the room goes beyond its capacity, we can continue it without notifying? Do you know the
No,
answer?
we have to continue it with enough time to notify everyone that we are doing it remote and how they can participate.
So that means it would have to be quite a bit beyond that date, is my
Right.
point.
Right.
It would have to be, if they have to be notified 10 days in advance, it's probably going to take at least a week to do that.
Right.
So we're
So
look-
it's a minimum of 7 days
And-
before the meeting that they have to be notified, which means they have to have it in the mail a couple of days ahead of that.
Right. So we're looking at it at least a couple weeks out
Right.
from that date. The other concern that's an impossible to know is, where is the virus spike going to be during the time of our deliberative session? And that is a concern for me. I see that, the whole country has a huge influx of new cases every day, new deaths every day. New Hampshire's not immune from that. In fact, we've had some important people take ill and even die. So I know from all my trainings that the most dangerous place is in a room building. Outside is safer. In a room is not so safe because everything, and in February, it's going to be shut up. There's going to be no airflow like we had in the fall elections when we had the doors open and fans. It's going to be winter in February. So I just wish I had a crystal ball and I could see how many people are going to show up and where the virus is going to be at, because those are both things that we need to consider, or that feel we need to consider.
I want the state take the lead on this. They should be saying how it's gonna go. Everybody's.
I'm always kicking them in the bum about that. So, was that you, Tyler?
Yes,
Yeah, I'm always bringing that up to them, but they don't necessarily listen to me. I'm just a little moderator. Hello, it's time to think about this. I do think I should talk to Nick Chong Yen or Ann Edwards before deciding, to make sure that what we do is legal and it's not infringing on anyone's right to process. But everything we've heard, masks, and wash your hands. Those are the two really big things. And the other one is don't go to large gatherings. Do not go to large gatherings. They're dangerous. So, I don't know enough about it to know how this kind of a meeting, which can go for hours and hours, I don't know how I know that the masks are not foolproof. I mean, they're not 100%. They impede the spread by a very significant factor, but it's not 100%. So I'm honestly leaning toward the Zoom aspect of it, just for the safety issue and for the fact that there are so many unknowns.
So Bonnie, can I just ask a couple of, just basically one clarifying question? You are currently thinking to do the deliberative session for the town via a Zoom series of meetings, because we would need to, and postpone the decision of whether we do a drive-through or traditional election in March to a later date.
Yes, postponing that part of the decision. Yeah.
Okay.
Because
I just wanted to make that clear, that's all.
yeah, no, thank you. I think
Yeah.
by the middle of February, we'll know, we know there's a vaccine, but we also know it's not going to be instant. It's going to be several months before it has any kind of impact on the spread. What we don't know is how bad is the Christmas surge going to be. We saw a huge spike after Thanksgiving. We're probably going to see another one after Hanukkah, Christmas, and the New Year. I think it's just inevitable. And how long will that last? I can't say. And we're looking at a meeting in early February. That's not very far from now, and it's not very long after Christmas. Those are my other concerns. So
Just a comment, and I know this is an ideal statement for the perspective of the voters, right? And it would be ideal if the school and the town were handled the same way. And I know there's complications. I know because they have a bond that makes it difficult, but that just an opinion. But like I said, Bonnie, I'll support whichever way you want.
I don't think that normally that really matters, because so few people normally come to the school. They're not confused by anything because nobody shows up for deliberative sessions, as we've discussed. And the school has had theirs long enough, although they do have I think I was at a deliberative session before I was the school moderator, in which there were a lot of people there. Maybe that's when Dee was remembering. I don't know how it fell in terms of when the school changed to SB2. But other than that one, I've not seen a huge turnout at a school deliberative ever. And I've been at one where there are 7 people in the audience. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm not too worried about confusing the voters about that. I don't, should we do this or should we do that? It seems to me that the people who come to town meeting and the people who go to school they're sometimes the same people, that some people are, activists across the spectrum of town government, and some have an education issue because that impacts their taxes so directly.
Yeah.
And others want to know what kind of dump truck we're getting, a fire truck. I mean, that's
Donna, I also know that the school board is planning on talking about this on Wednesday. I've been in contact with with the chair, and they know that this is an option. I'm not quite sure what direction that they'll go in.
Okay.
I know that if they do a bond, that has to be voted on an actual ballot, and there are options for doing that as well. But I know that they're talking about that this week.
Okay.
So, and I don't know what my place is as a school moderator. Chris, do you know? Is that my decision? Is it their decision?
I would assume
they'll do whatever they want to do for their bond.
No, I think the key point in HB 1129 is, and the underlying statute that I can't cite off the top of my head, is that this all starts with you as the moderator deeming the polling place unsafe, and then things, then the governing bodies get involved, which would be the school board in the case of the school district.
So I've had no interaction with them yet. I did have a call to Christine Dabrio on my list of things to do today, but I just didn't get to it. It's been a crazy, crazy day with other things.
Yeah, another point that we might try to work together with the school is some flexibility on both boards' part about the scheduling, if we're doing an in-person deliberative, if that's what both bodies end up just doing. Maybe we schedule them differently than we had planned because, well, first of all, we're going to be asking all of our election staff to go to 2 unsafe events if you've deemed them a risk or whatever, 2 risky events. And the setup, we did quite a bit of work to set up for town meeting with all of the, the AV and the different rooms and all that stuff. I don't know that we can impose on the school to do that twice in a week. We got to talk through those things with the school as well. So if our board here could be flexible in the scheduling, I think the venue, we're locked in. It's the biggest room in town, and we've got rooms, and we've got to use those. We haven't asked the school for the privilege yet, but those are all things we have to keep in mind too.
Are they still going to school? Are they still?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we do need to ask them. Well, we would be doing it in the evening though, correct? That's still, they still need to schedule it, but we wouldn't be there during their class.
The last time the select board talked about it, they were eyeing Saturday morning.
Saturday, that's right.
And my understanding was the school board was going to do Tuesday night as is their custom.
Yes, that is their custom. That's why I was thinking they're at night, but Saturday, Dee has already told me that once today, so.
Correct.
So why don't
I had different dates penciled in. I had us in an earlier window, so we'll have to.
Before February?
Tomorrow, but.
You mean before February 2nd, did you say?
Yeah, I was a week earlier than that in my head, but.
That would be January.
Yep.
So, yeah, January 30th for the town deliberative session. Chris?
Oh.
Yes, that's what I think.
Yep, that's what I have is the 30th, which is the Saturday for the town. And then the following Tuesday.
Okay, no, we are on the same page. Yep.
Okay. Yep, that's what I have.
So we're looking at January, not even February. So we could decide pretty soon.
Right.
Yeah, although we would have time, I suppose, after the new year if we had to notify everybody, every voter.
Yeah, that's work, but it's not, that's not impossible.
So
it is not impossible. We've never done it before, but it is not impossible.
How many people on the checklist, Dee? 4,000, how many?
4,500.
So that's the number of people that, could show up.
Good.
We're not equipped to deal with them either way, that many people. But
on the Zoom side of things, we could certainly temporarily raise our license count to accommodate all the voters. That would not be cheap. But a downside to that, though, is that it's bandwidth dependent. And I just don't know what the experience of a meeting with that many people would be. It might be very choppy. There might be audio and video glitches that we just can't anticipate. It's just something to consider. And we've got no way to test it out in advance to see what the pitfalls might be. I mean, that's a very large meeting technologically.
I've been at some state meetings where I think the early meetings all summer with the Secretary of State's office, sometimes there would be over 200 people there in the beginning. But most of the time, 100 or 120, 150, like that.
Yeah, I was on a few that were over 500, and we had to postpone the meeting a couple of times because according to the emergency order if a certain number of people said that they couldn't access it, you had to cancel or postpone until a later date so that everybody that wanted to have access was able to have access. I think even with 300 people, we're more than adequately covered with that part, but the bandwidth part is a good question.
And what about, can't people join in by phone instead of by computer, Tony? I mean, I don't know anything about technology. I'm just
Yeah,
a question.
they can join by phone.
Yeah.
But then there's the whole issue of the quality of the call and how well can they hear, how well can they make out what people are saying.
And they wouldn't be able to see anything that we're sharing.
Right. If there's any presentations, slides, anything like that, they would not be visible to those people.
So most of the meetings I go to do have a certain amount of the participants are by phone. It's not unusual whether you're showing slides or not.
Right.
I guess it would be important for everyone to be able to hear, but I guess my question was, do the phones have anything to do with the bandwidth? In other words, do they burden the bandwidth, or are they just a cheaper way in terms of the technology for people to take it in?
Well, the audio takes bandwidth too, so
okay,
not as much as the video does, but it's still. It's really. It seems to me that it's the sheer number of people involved that makes it problematic, whether it's audio and video or just audio.
So does anyone else have any comments? Lori or Ruth Ann, I know you're both here. Either of you have any comments that might be useful, helpful?
And so if we do it by Zoom and we have to notify everybody by mail, whose responsibility is it to do the mailing? Is it the clerk's?
No. So that's so from what I understand from our call last week with the Secretary of State's office, that is a supervisor report that we run that creates the labels, which then gets added to a letter that once we produce the labels, the town can then do the letter and send them out as long as they're done within a certain amount of time.
Right, but it would not be me doing it, or probably Chris, the people in Chris's office would be my guess.
It would probably be the supervisors in conjunction with Kelly.
At 4,000 pieces, we might just hire it out. It's, you're gonna have to produce the list, but we may just farm the job out.
Farm it out to who?
Oh, there are companies that
do that.
Will do that stuff for you.
Okay.
Deeply.
Yeah, we're gonna have, if you go with the Zoom route, you're gonna have this mailing expense and whatever Zoom expense you find along the way. If you do it in person, we're looking at that. I think we have to assume we're doing a similar setup to the summer town meeting with the AV,
right?
Trying to make as much space, part of the meeting as we can. So.
But what I was saying when I said cheaply was that those companies that you can get that stuff done with is cheap. So
okay, yeah.
To me, it's a no-brainer to do it that way. Yeah, because you're talking like a couple $100 probably.
And they're set up to do that efficiently.
Yes.
Quickly.
And you can confirm that that is done within the 7-day time frame.
I've worked
as well as you can confirm that you put some test pieces in it and give yourself.
You have to add the postage on too. The postage is going to be like $2,200.
Correct, but they'll do that too. I've worked with a number of those companies that never once have had a problem in terms of timing.
Okay, good. That's good to know, because I No, maybe that's something we need to look at for doing the purge.
There are towns that do it with tax bills. I mean, it's very, very common.
Okay.
So expense wise though, it might only cost a couple $100 for them to do it, that work, but it's also an added cost with the postage
Yes.
Yep.
and paper and envelopes and all of that.
It's not going to be inexpensive.
So Dave Dearborn did ask a question earlier tonight. He wanted to know when, oh, maybe it was Michael Colton. It was Michael asked about when the sign up starts for the open positions. I know it is in January.
The filing period?
Yes.
Last week.
It's the 20th. So wait. No, I think it's hang on, wrong calendar. Oh, no, I'm right. It's the 20th. It's January 20th.
That's when it begins.
That's when it begins, and it runs for 10 days, so it ends on the 29th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so Michael will probably do it at the same time, but he's more likely than not going to want to set up a different place to do it. Is that right, Michael? You have to unmute yourself.
There you go.
Yeah, like in the past, Lori, I would follow your hours, the town clerk's hours. I think that makes more sense. But I would probably need a separate space than, in your office.
So if we could set up him up in conference room 2.
That's a good place. Yep.
Then, he would be all set because he would be by himself. We could put signage up or you could just send him down to conference room 2 if it was school related.
Yeah, that would work well, Michael.
Michael's the clerk of the school district for those who just got lost.
Sorry.
So, all
It's
right.
all connected.
Okay.
So Michael, do you have any notion about how the school wishes to run its deliberative session this year? Do you have any
I was hoping to ask you.
Okay.
I haven't heard a thing, other than Christine sending me an email saying when the deliberative session is, but I haven't heard anything at all.
Okay.
So one thing that would be really helpful is if we could coordinate something so that we had both on the same day. We would be able to send one letter out, I believe, for both sessions if we did them via Zoom, rather than having to send one out for the school and one out for the town.
Yep.
So Bonnie, what else do you need from us tonight?
I think I'm good. I suppose I will just hopefully get this decided in the next week or so. Before Christmas would be good.
Bonnie, can I ask a logistical question about if we do the drive-through voting at the fire station?
Yeah, well, I would ask Chris to listen up here because he's my logistics person.
Okay, so do the poll workers work inside the building and the voters drive by
I think
and are handed a ballot? I mean, how would that work?
drive through, right, Chris?
Our thinking was that we do everything inside. We drive through the bays of the fire station so that the workers are inside. The voting process is undercover. I don't know how warm it would be, but you whatever the weather, you can conduct your business indoors. And
so the poll workers will be there all day in possibly pretty chilly weather?
Yeah, that's one of the downsides of a drive-through arrangement is that you've got to figure out a way to either run shifts with people or, I don't know. We didn't get into those weeds yet. We just identified the best possible location in town and said, yeah, we could do it there if we had to.
And so there's no heat in that big room, Chris?
Yeah, there is. If you open up, if you're running, say I think we could max out at 3 bays. If you're not familiar with it, you can drive in the back and out the front. So it's like a Jiffy Lube. You wouldn't have to get out of your car.
Car wash.
Yeah.
Car wash, right? If you were running 3 bays and it was windy and cold, you'd effectively be outside. If it was quiet enough at parts of the day and you just had one drive-through bay open, I suspect you could find a little bit of warmth, but it's not going to be simple.
Well, we
So
can encourage
that's smart.
everybody to vote absentee.
No, thank you. Last March, we had just over 900 voters, correct?
Yeah.
And how many were at the general election? 37 something, I think, was the final number for the day.
38, yeah.
Yeah, and so there'll be far less people voting. Generally, it is much smaller for the town election.
I think this year you'll find that to change. If that's
I think that we're gonna have 12 to 1,500 for town election.
if that school's going up, you're gonna see people turn out.
And they can vote by absentee now for town meeting. We're gonna have a huge number of additional people that have never voted at town meeting before.
And there's a possible warrant article about some emergency lanes out there. So that's another thing that's gonna bring out people. So I expect this one to be a lot higher than the normal average.
And so normally we order about 900 ballots. How many do you think that we should be ordering just to make sure that we have enough?
15?
13 to 15.
1,500, I guess it's only paper, right? If we have more than we need.
Trust me, you don't want to be signing them.
That's right.
I had to do that one.
Yep.
Yeah, or
And-
running them off on a copier machine.
Is there a copier at the firehouse?
Yep.
Will they let us use it?
Does it do 17-inch paper?
I don't know. Well, we can figure out copying.
Still find it weird though that the state isn't gonna step in here somewhere and I mean, all these towns are getting ready for the same thing.
They are not.
We're
Don't
almost,
expect it.
yeah, well, I don't expect anybody to subject themselves to COVID over a town meeting. That's for damn sure.
Well, they didn't for the general election. They're not gonna do it for town meeting. That's my 2 cents.
They gave guidance and that was it.
That's all they give. I think they're going to be a little more careful just because the numbers of the virus are way up. And you will notice that the governor, who did not have a mask mandate before the election, had one pretty soon after. I saw an article where there was COVID even in his polling place in Newfields. But it happened after he voted, apparently. So, the possibility exists. And I agree with whoever said it's not worth getting it for a town election. So if we have to do, if we have a cold day, if we end up in the fire department and we're having a cold day, I can see that we should have more staff working shorter hours with, 2-hour cocoa breaks or something in a warm room. Or is there a wood stove down there? Or no, it isn't.
In the fire station?
That was a joke.
Not likely.
Someplace to warm up.
We don't have to solve the March election.
Correct,
before
right.
Christmas.
Yeah, tonight.
Yeah, the first one is the method of doing it.
Bonnie, what else are you going to need from the board to get to a decision, do you think?
Access to the town attorney, I would like to have a discussion with him. Are we still using the same?
Yep.
Why can I never remember his name? If you set that
Yep,
up,
I'll connect you. Yep.
Mike, that's his name, right? Mike. And that's my other question, by the way. If we have a Zoom meeting, how do I get to talk to the town attorney. I suppose there won't be as many questions that arise if we have a kind of presentation only town meeting.
Correct.
But I want to make sure that the town attorney and I are on the same page about how we do things. So it's not a surprise if we do it that way, and that it's clear with the Attorney General's office as well. That they say, that they bless it. But I think we saw the state blessing most anything in the last two elections. Back to Dee's point, you know, they didn't take charge of things that I certainly wish they had. And they didn't make consistent procedure mandatory across the state. I mean, things were done in all kind of manners of ways. It is true that part of the reasoning for that was that every town has different physical facilities, but parking areas and different building options. Some towns have a lot of options, some don't have many. But still, I think they should have had a firmer hand in how things were done myself. And are they going to do much for town meeting? Listen, they barely, the Secretary of State's office, in my observation, is really more concerned with the federal elections. I mean, that's where they drill down and put most of their energy. And NHMA gives us more advice for the town portion of it, which doesn't mean that the Attorney General is not in charge of enforcement. They definitely are. But I've never seen them send an inspector yet to one of our town elections. Can you remember any, Dee?
Never.
No. So it's kind of like they're going to give us guidance, but I doubt it's going to be that excellent. We're going to have to figure things out again for ourselves. Like we had some kind of expertise. I'm getting lobbied by my cat here. It's past his feeding time. Come to the meeting. So I think that, other than that, Donna, if I have issues that arrive, if I can just call Chris and talk about them, and he can contact you people if need be. If that
You know where to find him. He knows where to find us. Well, you know where to find us too, but
I do, but it's easier to go through him because usually he has some.
I know.
Some ideas of some kind.
That's why we keep him around.
So for my purposes, we haven't heard from Ruth Ann. Are you still here? She's the quiet one.
Yeah, I'm here.
She's always thinking.
My only concern was the 300 limit for the Zoom, but that was already answered. Because I could see, especially if every voter gets a letter that says that we're going to Zoom, some of those voters might be out of state,
right,
and say, "Oh, I can go to the meeting this year."
Right, that's right.
So you might have a lot more people Zooming than you would have in person.
Good point.
And I also agree it isn't worth getting COVID to go to a town meeting.
Right. So, it's like.
There is a vote. I vote Zoom.
Thank you, Ruth Ann. So I guess that's it for us, unless Dee has anything else.
Nope, that's everything I have.
Okay. Lori, you good? Thanks for hearing us, and good to see you, Mike. I should be calling you after I talk with the school people, or if you like, let me just look in my magic phone here and see if I have you see if I have your number. I think I must.
If you don't, I'll send it to you.
Okay. Yeah, I got it.
Call the question.
224-132-44-9980. Nope, 244. Yeah, okay.
So any more discussion on this? We good for now? We'll continue this. That's what I'm hearing. Okay. So
Yep.
we'll call this portion of the meeting. Thank you very much, Bonnie and everybody, for participating in this. And we do have some big decisions we'll have to make and think about. But it's a good place to start, and we'll get this answered as soon as we can. So thank you guys very much for being here and attending and answering the questions.
Bye, guys.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye,
you.
thank you.
Thanks, guys.
So we're gonna go back, move on to the sections we left off. To section C on the 2021 budget and the warrant articles that Chris sent out for ideas.
John, I wonder if we might do D first, because
Okay.
it turns into a, do you want to spend money on it question at the end, and then that kind of leads in, if that's all right.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that too.
All right, so I've sent you stuff on E911 a couple times over the years. We briefly talked about this in 2019. You have in front of you a very detailed list of everything that in town that is not addressed the way that the E911 standards would have them be addressed. E911 is a way to make sure that emergency responders can find every address using a whole series of conventions that are all logical and consistent across every town in the state, in theory. You can imagine what 300 years of addressing and street numbers and things would has turned into in New Hampshire. And over time, the E911 standards have rolled through different towns, and someday the whole state will fit within those E911 guidelines or regulations. The lists that you have go back to 2007 as the first time that probably some number of years after the state rolled out the laws that back up E911. The state did this inventory of how Nottingham was when compared to those regulations. That was 2007 was the first time that I know of that we got a detailed list. Nothing was really done with it. We had some more discussions in 2019 and redid that list, updated it, and that's one of the things you have. And what it shows you is that virtually everything in town is addressed in a way that doesn't fit with those conventions. Some are significant, some are less so, but it's very common for street numbers to be wrong for entire streets, or to be just kind of silly at the other end of the spectrum. Two houses with the same address, odds and evens on the same side of the road, on and on. You have the list. And we last year started talking about this at the staff level. All of our public safety people would be happy to have the town come in line with this. It would make it easier for people that don't know the town very well to find their way around. It would make it easier for responders from other towns when they're here on mutual aid to find things. And it would, in some cases, clear up really, really unclear addressing situations that affect even delivery services. We hear complaints from people, not complaints about the town so much as, I'm going crazy, what can you do to help me? Because FedEx can never find my house. Where it's most drastic is in places where there are really similar road names, or where there are multiple spurs of roads that don't have names of their own. There's you see that around the lake a lot. Things that look like driveways are numbered like roads, and vice versa. So you've got the list. I think your houses are probably mentioned on it, or your streets in many cases. The staff would like to propose that we try and fix it, but it's a big undertaking. And it is, whenever a town goes through it, it is nearly universally unpopular. You know, a lot of people's addresses work just fine. Thank you very much. They've worked for years. Their grandfather lived at 27 whatever street, and they live at 27 whatever street, and it works just fine. Nobody likes to go through the headache of an address change, understandably. So not something we would tackle lightly, and not something that your hardworking staff would like to tackle alone, frankly. In all likelihood, the vast majority of addresses in town would probably change if we did this to get within the standards. It's the kind of thing that's best done either in the conversations we've had with the E911 folks, either break it up and do a piece of the town each year over a couple of years to keep the area of change smaller, or do it all at once and just get it over with. It would involve changes in our tax records, changes in our planning office, our building and zoning offices. Those are all things within the building. The post office would be involved. The state would be involved to get their maps updated on the day that we would do it. There'd be a long process that would lead to some day of change where people would be notified of the potential for the change. There would be public hearings before the select board where people could come and weigh in on the process and tell you how awful it is or how happy they are with it. You would pull the trigger, and we would make those changes in blocks or all at once. The state would update all of their E911 maps at that point. Everything that, all the services that rely on those maps would all be updated. So presumably the delivery services and everything would update relatively quickly. The post office would be involved, and they would know when the change was made. It would be a big production. It would be a big improvement from a safety point of view, all at once. So let me pause there and answer any questions you have about the theory and go from there.
Well, you've made it sound really appealing.
Well, it's kind of intuitive, and if you read this list, you're probably shaking your head at some of these things.
Yeah.
But I can't just in watching other towns go through it and hearing from people that did it in other towns, I have to emphasize that it's not fun for a lot of people, and you know, somebody's going to have to do it eventually. You know, the town hasn't paid any attention to it for at least 15 years. You could get away with not doing it for another 15 years. In 15 years, there will be more houses, and the errors compound. You know, if you got a problem, you know, where we're doing new subdivision developments, you know, like a Maple Ridge, that'll be addressed correctly. You know, it's done right. But all the infill development that's happening all around town is having to fit within those erroneous addresses already. So we're routinely dealing with, well, I could do what kind of makes sense, or I can do what fits with what's already been done. And so many new properties are just compounding those old errors. So it's just going to get harder to fix and impact more people and the further you kick it down the road. So
what changes to make it easier for, say, an emergency vehicle to find the right spot?
Well, at the largest level, the street name.
Okay.
You know, there are everything that looks like a street that actually is a street has a street name, a unique name. Things that are similar would go away, like I think North River and North River Lake East are the kind of things that would change in street names. Or if you look at well, your neighborhood, Donna, Your
Right.
neighborhood's a hot mess in terms of street names. There are sections of road in your neighborhood with no name,
Yes, there is. That is true.
right? So those that's the highest level correction, where at least, a responder would get a street, and at least they could go and get on the right road so that somebody could flag them down if they'd called the ambulance or something. The next level down from that would be renumbering, which is the one that would have the widest effect. And you can see on this list how, large swaths of the longest road in town are mislabeled, and they're not, they're odds and evens on the same side of the street. They're, you go a quarter mile to go up 2 street numbers, things like that happen all over the place. So the renumbering would be the secondary thing, would all happen at once, but.
Yeah. And would there be like more consistent numbering in front of houses? So there's more signs and stuff in front of houses, or is that still left to the homeowners to do that or not?
Well, we have the little green fence post signs that we've offered in town for a long time, and that's a question we'd have to answer as we go through this process. Those have historically been that's something you buy from the fire station, and they put it up for you. A lot of those would become, invalid all of a sudden. So we'd have to decide, do we replace those for people and carry that cost? People that have already bought one, should we just take it down and offer to sell them a new one, or should we replace it for them?
Yeah.
That's a potential question and cost for us.
Okay.
On implementation. And obviously you take that opportunity to increase that participation in that as much as you can.
Yeah.
But everybody's going to be putting new stickers on their mailbox, and God forbid if you got a granite post with a number etched in it that isn't right, those are the people that are really out of luck.
I've got a really nice granite post, Chris.
Oh, do you? Oops, sorry.
What is on this sheet? What is like the statement, it does not support a 200-foot address increment? What does that mean?
I don't know where you are, but I suspect it means that the way that they would ideally lay out the numbering is they look at the zoning and say, you got to have 200 feet of frontage. Let's make sure that we number this in a way that the road can handle a driveway every 200 feet, which the zoning envisions. So it could be that a neighborhood is already constructed too densely to fit that convention and would have to be numbered differently.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a question. They say that for Brussels at 200 feet, but then if you look down the road, look down the row, Cove Road, they're only talking about 100 feet.
Yeah, those are zoned the same, right? There shouldn't be any difference there.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it looks like they identified something that they tried to do at 100 feet in the past. Maybe when they numbered it originally, somebody was thinking ahead, and maybe the history of Cove and Brussels are different. I don't know. It'd be surprising given the history out there, but
2 different developers, so anything's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Chris, do you have any ballpark number for this?
What the administrative work of it is the part that that would fall on the staff, and I think we need to hire somebody for a year to do it, just a part-time, a day a week kind of thing with a couple of bursts of activity around busy times. Somebody to kind of ride herd or take the point, or whatever metaphor you want to use, and be the point person for all those various departments that are impacted, and print the letters and relabel the files, and be able to answer phone calls from people with questions. So I think that's around that's an $8,000 to $10,000 proposition comfortably. if we want to do something with house signs, and then we have to bump that up. And we have some, we have some street sign work to do. That's typically not huge money. We could probably do that in that $10,000 ballpark.
So is that $10,000 the first year?
That's total. We envision just doing it all at once.
Okay.
Rather than dragging it out. It's like a Band-Aid, just be done with it.
Okay. I thought it was going to be a lot more.
No, and again, that's a guess, but not something we want to just go off and do. We really want some buy-in from lots of people.
We wouldn't be responsible for house signs, would we?
No, people have to redo their own, the digits on the side of their house or the side of their mailbox. That's that's a headache for them, and it's a risk in the transition. Obviously, people leaving their old numbers up can cause confusion, but that you got to do it at some point. And if anybody has a vested interest in the ambulance finding your house, it's you. So theoretically, you change the digits on your house when the time came.
So Chris, what would happen on a street like mine, right? I live on a cul-de-sac. There's only 9 properties, I think, on our street. And it's lot-based addressing. Well, I don't see why the numbers wouldn't end up staying the same. I mean, is that?
It's possible. Yeah, it could if with cul-de-sacs, there's a convention about how you number them around the outside.
Yeah.
I don't know the details of it. You could conceivably have entire roads and neighborhoods that don't change at all, and they're good enough. And there may be, I'd have to go back and talk to the state, but there may be times where even if they don't fit the convention, that you leave them alone.
Yeah.
But that's not something certainly not something I can promise you ahead of time.
No, I'm just curious about the really small streets, because somebody else is going to ask that. It's like my street is so small. Why did we have to change our numbers?
Right.
So.
And that's a fair question.
The question is, do we want to put this out there as a warrant article?
Yeah, I think I certainly don't want to just slide it into the operating budget and then tell people, hey, we're renumbering the whole town. That's I like my job too much. But yeah, so I think a standalone warrant article is a worthy place for it. It lets people buy in if they want. It's not the money that's going to matter. We're not talking about a material amount of money in the tax rate.
Right.
But it's the principle of it. Yeah.
I'm okay with putting it out there as a warrant article, understanding that we're going to have to do a ton of education around it.
Yeah.
What if the town votes it down because they don't want to go through the grief? I mean, it is a public safety function.
Yeah. That's okay. I mean, we've lived with it all this time, and we will continue to. It may be that if it doesn't pass, we go, a couple of years later, we come back and do the education again, and maybe someday somebody wants to build it in and do it without spending extra money. The board could do it without spending extra money.
Yeah.
So someday somebody could do it, it just wouldn't be 2021.
I'm for the warrant article.
Yeah, no, I'm for it as well.
All right, well, I'll draft something up that you can see in the context of the whole warrant when we get to that point. Um, All right, that's all I need, John, on that subject. If you're good, I am.
Yeah, I'm enlightened, so I'm very happy we did it this way first. What do you want to talk about towards the budget? Certain line items?
No, I think what I need from you is I need to know if there's anybody else you want to talk line by line about on the budget. We did that last week, and you asked for the town clerk, so we did that tonight. You've also been asking for the conversation of what's the rest of the warrant look like, what goes in a warrant article, what's in the budget, that kind of discussion, and that's why we sent there's that second list titled one-time cost for consideration in 2021. That's the open issue items as far as I can see, unless there's anything you want to add to that list.
That's the list you had with all the prices of like the truck, the payloader.
Correct.
I'm good with that list, Chris.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
What are we good with it? That we like that he put there, so we know what it is, or
No, I support having those put forth as the warrant, individual warrant articles, not part of the
I
budget.
just want to be clear so people, anybody listen, we're clear on what we're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, that was my interpretation too.
Okay, nothing you want to roll back into the operating budget, or nothing in the operating budget that you wanted to extract?
No, not for me.
No, me neither. I think we had already discussed that a couple meetings ago, right?
Yeah, the only if you get to this point, you can have a discussion. Well, you could actually have the discussion in January about the methods by which you want to pay for some of these. We had touched on the possibility of using fund balance for some pieces. That's we'll have a good idea what your fund balance. Well, we'll have an idea what your fund balance is going to look like in January. So I think, as you're finalizing the warrant, maybe you go back to that conversation about what comes from reserves, like the dump truck, what is a lease purchase, like the loader, that's how they've been proposed the last time you've seen them. Do you want to propose that some of these come out of fund balance, or just straight taxation? Those kind of questions you can put off until early January, unless you want to talk about it now.
I would like to see how much, what the fund balance is going to be after this year. Because a lot of people do say that, it is the town people's money. I've never been a big supporter of rolling it back on people's taxes, because then I just see the next year, the number ballooning even more, and then people getting pissed. I'd rather see that money used for maybe some of these one-time expenditures, if we could. Stuff that the town needs, but yet not having a payment plan for the next 5 years or 10 years on them. So, if there's 500,000 to spend, or excess, where can we put that towards the town of equipment and stuff we need without affecting the taxpayers?
Yeah, I agree. We should look at use of the fund balance, if it makes sense. And we're not putting our rainy day fund at risk, which I think we talked about the fact that we wouldn't be.
And I'm not going to hold you to it, Chris, but do you have an idea of like how much over budget? Are we talking like $500,000?
No, I think it's going to be more like the three or 400,000 neighborhood. We gotta finish up our encumbrances and go back through our road. It's really the road projects that are the only thing I haven't figured out yet. At your last meeting of the year, I'll ask you to do some encumbrances around mostly those road projects that we have to finish up in the spring. How much we have committed there, and then we'll get through December and look what what the storms did to us and that kind of stuff. Last deliveries of things. So we'll know in January. It's six figures, 3, 4, maybe 500,000, but I think probably won't be that high.
Do you know what's in the balance now, offhand?
1.5.
Ooh. So what's the average number we want to keep in there for our rainy day? $1 million?
No. You want to be.
I think you guys are talking two different things, I think, right? I think, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, and I apologize for interrupting, but there's the rainy day fund, but then there's the excess from the budget, right? And isn't that what you were just talking about, Chris, where we're coming under with the budget this year?
Yeah, the surplus from the budget effectively falls into that rainy day fund or the fund balance at year end or post audit is really when you see it, but you can infer what you're going to add. So we're going to finish the year and add to that rainy day fund by 3, 4, 500,000, something like that. That's a much bigger increase than you're accustomed to. The best way to look at that, I'm sorry, I don't have the numbers here at home, but the best way to look at it is as a percentage of the money that you have to put out every year to cover the school bill, the town bills, all the appropriations, and that's measured as a percentage. And the ideal percentage is between 8 and 15% of that total spend, and we're at about 9% of that after the last audit. So you're within the range. You're going to add to it. You're going to still be within the range, but you're going to have some comfortable room to spend some of it if you wish. We've never needed to be high in that range, and I think we probably don't need to be. So I think you'll feel like you have room to spend, I don't know, 100, 200,000 maybe, without really feeling it. I think that's the neighborhood that it feels like you'll be comfortable spending, because as appropriations go up, then your need for fund balance goes up to keep that percentage locked in. And it's not just the town appropriations that drive that, it's the school appropriations as well. So to maintain that percentage, you've got to be putting some money away every year.
Hey, Chris, on that point, when you said our last meeting of the year, I think we basically had one scheduled for the 21st and the 28th, right? Because we said every week through December.
Yes.
And we saw your email today about not having the 21st. Does that presume then that we would meet on the 28th?
Yeah, we've been scheduled for the 28th all along. That is the route. That would be the regular meeting 2 weeks from tonight.
Okay.
If you want to meet next week, we certainly can. We just haven't identified anything that you want to talk about. So,
is the 28th our going away meeting with the chief?
Yes, that same afternoon. Yes.
Okay.
And that's we can talk offline about that with you.
Okay, good. No problem. I just want to make sure. I thought that day was familiar. I don't see it in front of me. I just want to make sure that I was on the same page.
Yeah.
All that week, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, if that's something that you want to do in person, if you want to spread yourselves out and all come at different times, just let me know what you're comfortable there. We'll make something work. Gunnar knows that it's coming, so we'll work that out between now and then. So is there anything else that you would like to do next week if you were to have a meeting?
Let's not have a meeting.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
Yeah, actually, I may have a circumstance where that might prevent me from attending anyway.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good with,
If we have one or not doesn't make a difference to me. So
yeah.
we don't need one. Not have one.
You good with that, Tyler?
As much as I'd like to, it looks like I've been outvoted.
So do we need action items for our next meeting after that, or we're pretty much good with what it is because we have enough to discuss? Yeah, we're good. Anything else from any board members?
Nope.
I got nothing.
Motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Tyler, did you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't, Adonis.
Hi, Tony Dumas.
Hi, Tyler Eaton.
Hi, John Moore.
Alrighty.
Thank you all. Good night.
Guys.
Right.